Hey, welcome to episode 227 of Awkwardly Awesome Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Freeman, and for whatever reason, I was shaking my head vigorously there. I don't know why. This episode is called Coming Alive. Coming Alive. Sometimes in life, we can struggle with things like anxiety for years and years and years, and struggle with them so long we don't really think there's a solution. But my guest today has so much to share. I've known her for maybe 4 or 5 years now, and I've witnessed phenomenal growth in her life, and she's just amazing, and she reminds us that there can be solutions to even the problems that we think will never be solved in our lives. I'm so happy to have her on the show. I'll tell you more about her, but first, this.
Today's guest, Cuyla Coogan.
Hey, welcome back. Kyla's journey with anxiety began in grade school. Then in high school, she grew her hair long, hoping partly to mask the severe anxiety she was forced to deal with, which for the fanned the flames of her anxiety. This continued off and on for years until her anxiety grew into a wildfire at the age of 22 when Cuyla came out as gay. Fortunately, the severity of Cuyla's anxiety couldn't be ignored. It forced her to explore a new path where she not only found relief from anxiety but discovered an entirely new way of being. With an undergrad in kinesiology, a minor in business management, and a master's in sports management, Cuyla doesn't shy away from anyone anymore. Check this out. She has worked at a number of World Series games and even sold ice cream at the Super Bowl. She now coaches clients through their journey of coming out, coming home, and coming alive. Please welcome to Awkwardly Awesome Podcast, Cuyla Coogan. Cuyla Coogan.
Let's go, Jason.
Hey, glad you're here. Did I say your first and last name right?
You said it perfectly.
Nice. So where should we start off? There's so much to talk about, and then I realized that I'm pondering where to start off, because I mean there's obvious places we could start off. We could start by talking about what the heck is it like to coach a World Series game. No, to work to not coach, to work at a World Series game. You didn't coach a World Series game, did you?
No, I did not coach, but I was working in the stadium.
We could talk about what it's like to on the day you come out we could talk about your schooling, but how about let's start in third grade. You made a special request of your mom. What did you ask her?
Yeah, so when I was in third grade, I had this desire to get my hair cut short like a boy haircut. And I actually went around the school and I was interviewing boys at school, like, what's it like having short hair? I'm curious. I want to know what it feels like, because I was sick and tired of literally just brushing my hair, putting my hair up, like doing my hair. Like I was sick of it. So I just wanted my life to be easier. So I asked.
Did the boys have any good answers for you?
I mean, it's funny asking them because they don't know what it's like having long hair, right? So they're like, it's freeing, it feels good, it's easy. A lot of them were like, I just wake up in the morning, I don't have to do anything to my hair, and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Just wake up and then I'm ready to go.
and you with short hair, you're not having to pull snows out of your hair.
Exactly. Yeah. So when I actually, my mom was a hairdresser, so I asked her if she would cut my hair, and she actually at first told me, if you want it in like 6 months, I'll do it then. But she wanted me to kind of ponder about it before I made the commitment, and then I still wanted to do it then, so she did it, and it was, talk about awkward. I felt awkward because
Did you love it in the moment that she did it? Do you remember loving it right away, or
I
not
don't
even
remember I don't remember loving it. I remember like not I so I remember like being free of like, oh, this is a cool feeling to not have all this hair on my body. But I didn't necessarily look in the mirror and say like, oh, I like the way I look. I didn't really necessarily feel that sensation. I don't think I thought about the ramification of what I was actually going to look like when I made that decision. It was just, I wanted my life to be easier. So after she cut it, I would have experiences where I would be standing in the bathroom line in a public restroom, and women would tell me, you're in the wrong line. You need to go to the boys' restroom. And it got really awkward and uncomfortable for me because, again, I didn't do that to necessarily look like a boy. I still wanted to be a girl, and I felt ashamed. It was kind of what was happening, was feeling shame. And my mom and my parents were very loving and supportive of me, but it was more my experience in public of how people were perceiving me that was really challenging.
Were you an outgoing person at the time, or how would
Yes,
you describe yourself?
I was definitely outgoing. I was an athlete playing sports. Soccer was my main sport. I was like pretty popular at school in terms of like socializing with people. In fact, in 5th grade, I ran for the president of my elementary school and I won, and I used to do the morning announcements. So yeah, I was definitely social.
Belated congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so I actually went on a journey after I cut my hair where I was ashamed of how it looked when it was growing out. And then when I could eventually put it in a bun, I literally wore my hair in a bun for years. And kids at school would threaten to take my hair tie out because they wanted to see the way I looked. And then I had all this anxiety about, the way that I looked with my hair when it was in a bun. So it was like, it was years and years of like this hair trauma that I was like experiencing, of just like not feeling comfortable with myself.
Why did you want to have it in a bun?
So once I could eventually put it in a hair, like in a hair tie, I just eventually put it, like, I think I might've seen someone that I liked the way their hair looked, like in a bun. So I just did it like that. And then it was nice because it got out of my way. Again, same thing. I just wanted the hair out of my way. I didn't want it to bother me. I was sick of my hair bothering me, so I just put it up, stopped bothering me, again, but didn't really think too much about the way that I looked. And I did over time like the way I looked with it, but then again, it became an insecurity. And at school, kids would basically pick on me for it.
Because you always had your hair in a bun.
Yeah, they were just like, it made them curious. Like, why don't you take it out? We want to see the way you look. And it like freaked me out. Like, I don't want that. And then when I was in middle school, I finally showed up one day with my hair down. And it was like the whole school was, that's what it felt like, was like the whole school was staring at me. And I remember I got my eyebrows waxed and I put my hair down and I was like, I had so much anxiety about it. And I was just like nervous and again, very uncomfortable with the way that I looked. I vividly remember that day of having my hair down for the first time in years.
What would you tell a young person who might be listening and going through hair trauma of one sort or another at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where, you know, if a kid is considering doing something like that and they're changing the way they look, I think the main thing is to stay confident in who you are, right? It's to, like, I didn't really have a conversation with somebody about that. I didn't really talk to my parents about it. And I one thing that was really prevalent in my life was that I was hiding. And so the biggest advice I would tell, you know, a kid is to not hide. If you feel ashamed or you feel insecure or you feel like you're not confident in yourself with the result of how it turned out, talk to somebody about it. Like, open up to somebody about it. If you don't have family that's close enough to you that loves and supports you and accepts you, then find a friend, talk to somebody in your life that can support you through that. Because I hid, and that it was the hiding that was creating the anxiety and the uncomfortable feeling in my body.
Taking the example the story of when you cut your hair, had your hair cut short, what kind of conversations do you wish you had 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 after you cut your hair short?
Yeah, I think after I cut it short, I think that it was, you know, how do I now navigate these challenges that I'm facing? How do I respond to people in a way where I'm not coming off like super frustrated or mad or because I was getting frustrated, you know, and I was getting, again, I was like, it was an uncomfortable feeling in my body. So I think having a conversation with somebody about how I could navigate those challenges would have been really helpful for me.
And I guess in conversations, there's new ideas come about, and also the opportunity to practice what you would say in such situations and become comfortable saying it. Maybe you could have come up with some kind of witty comeback that put
Exactly.
people at ease, but also.
Exactly. If I would have had something clever to say back to, you know, the woman that's in front of me in the restroom, like, that would shift the conversation in a way where I'm not like, because I felt frustrated, but that frustration also turned into some sadness. I noticed, like, I was genuinely getting sad about it. You know, it was like, this wasn't my goal. This wasn't my intention. You know, like, I didn't want this to happen to me just because I cut my hair, you know?
Like I guess when talking about it, one of the things you could have said is, "Oh, hi, I'm Cuyla. I'm a girl with short hair."
I love that. Exactly.
I do know what you mean, because there were years of my life when I was so uncomfortable with the sound of my voice. I didn't want to say I had a speech impediment, which made it horribly awkward because everyone could hear the voice. But yeah, it just hiding can make things immensely awkward.
Exactly. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, hiding. And it is so freeing when you stop hiding.
About what age did you start having the first glimmer that on my path in terms of who I'm attracted to might be different than the path of might be different than the more than the path that's more common to me or
Yeah.
more yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's an interesting question because, third grade, I cut my hair. I have this whole situation with my hair, but at the same time, I noticed that at that young of an age, I felt an attraction to girls. Like it was already happening at a very young age. I didn't necessarily know exactly that I was gay or lesbian at that time, but it was like there were already kind of like thoughts happening, and I was like aware of it. And it wasn't until basically after college that I finally came out, and my brother is 3 years younger than me, and he came out in high school, and I didn't come out till after college. So again, that same pattern that I repeated, I was hiding.
How how do you sort out in your mind like being attracted to women because you like women as friends and being romantically attracted? How do you start to sort that out?
That's a good question. And it's a feeling, right? It's a
Yeah.
feeling that you have, and it's an undeniable feeling, right? It's like,
Mm.
it's a pull. It's an energy, and it feels like a pull that you're like, "Huh, I see that person in a different way than I do as a friend. They are a friend, but I see them as like somebody that I'm interested in. So I would say it's definitely a feeling, and it's the feeling that I kind of shoved down, that I pushed away, that I, stifled that. And just imagine you're doing that, you're stuffing down that feeling over and over and over. Well, what kind of feeling is going to manifest in your body? Well, for me, it became anxiety. So that's what became so prevalent in my life, from shoving all of those feelings down.
Let's talk more about that, but first tell me about playing soccer as a kid.
Ah, yes, I loved soccer. I played when I was 4 years old. I was on the Red Rugrats AYSO
Yeah.
team, and I was a big goal scorer. I scored a lot of goals. I played soccer until 8th grade, and then I transitioned to basketball and track. So sports were a big part of my life. And that's a huge reason why I ended up studying kinesiology and going down the path of health and wellness, and then getting my master's in sport management. I just kind of continued to follow those passions.
So tell me about the transition from soccer to basketball.
Mm. Yeah, I did that because when I was playing soccer, there was a lot of drama that was happening on the teams. And I was kind of getting sick of that, and I kind of wanted to change. So I changed it up to basketball. Looking back, I actually was better at better at soccer than I was at basketball. And
Mm.
I got a lot of injuries in basketball. Like I
Mm.
rolled my ankle like 7 times. Like I
Oh
just,
my god! Ow! Oh my!
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Rolling your ankle is like so painful. Spraining
like
it,
like the same ankle.
same ankle. My
Uh,
left ankle, I have sprained
uh,
it, not even kidding, like 7 times. Like it just
uh.
kept, I was always on crutches in school, and I couldn't play for very long. And versus I had one bigger injury in soccer, and other than that, I was fine. So it was just the drama on a particular team that kind of pushed me
Mm.
away, and then I transitioned to a different sport. And I don't, it's not saying I regret anything, but looking back, I kind of wish I would have played soccer a little bit, or played basketball a little bit, and then went and played soccer again too, to kind of feel, okay, what is my favorite of these sports? I think I had more potential in soccer to play in college. I aspired to be, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. So
Oh wow!
So that's kind of the reason why I really wanted to work in professional sports. So it was cool. I got to work for the Loyal, the men's professional soccer team in San Diego, and I got to work for the Wave, the women's professional soccer team in San Diego. So I, fulfilled those dreams of, working in pro sports as well.
So there's the side of who you are that's like, if I had come to a soccer game and seen you score a bunch of goals in 8th grade, I'd be like, wow, Kyla's on top of the world, has this life thing figured out, but that wasn't the whole of your reality, was.
Yeah, I mean, I was good at the sport, but I also was dealing with lack of confidence in myself it's interesting because when I first started playing soccer, I was very confident. When I was like 4, 5, 6, like I used to crush it. Like I was just like, my dad used to tell me all the time I scored like 30 goals in like a season. It was like insane. Like I was just absolutely crushing it. And then at some point along my journey, I think I started to lose my confidence. And I do think that, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, all of those years were really awkward stages for me, with my hair. And then what got worse was in basically high school timeframe. Sophomore year, it got really bad, but I had severe acne, like all over my body, all over my face, my arms, my chest, my back. It was just everywhere. And I was super ashamed. That I also tried to hide. I would literally have conversations with people and try to cover my face while I'd be talking. So
like you'd be talking like this kind of?
Yes, exactly. Like I'd be like fiddling with like my, my face, like I'd talk like this, so I'd try to cover a couple pimples here, and I'd wear a hood in class, and then in school, I would also at lunch, I would hide in the classroom from time to time, not all the time, but I would go to the classroom and do like homework and stuff, which was like, I did want to be productive, but the main reason why was that I just was like, I was sick of being visible to people. I didn't want to be seen with the amount of acne that I had on my body.
So a lot more hiding and kind of, even more constant than the hair, because with the hair, maybe you only remembered it when like a woman would say, hey, the boys' bathroom is over there. But with acne, it sounds like it was pretty constant.
It was constant. It wasn't going away. I was going to the dermatologist. I was trying all different types of medications. I ended up on Accutane, which is, I think, banned at this point. It's a very aggressive medication. It worked in terms of healing it, but then years later, everything came back. So it's kind of interesting. The thing that actually helped me heal my acne is Wim Hof breathing. I did about 30 days of Wim Hof breathing. This was years ago, and ever since, my skin has not been the same. So I very much integrate mindfulness techniques in my everyday life to keep myself and my energy and my skin and everything in tip-top shape. So I obviously don't have the acne that I used to have anymore.
So you were nope, that's not good. So you were struggling with acne. Been on all these meds, and Accutane took care of it, but then it came back. Mm-hmm. How did Wim Hof breathing come into your life?
Well, so it came into my life because I was talking to a friend, and I was still feeling a little bit of like anxiety in I had like some tension in my belly. I could actually feel my gut. It was like bloated. And they said, well, have you tried Wim Hof breathing? And I said, I haven't tried it. And he said, well, just give it a try. There's a 10-minute video on YouTube. Just try it. And so I did. I instantly went in the car and I did it. And I actually felt like an energetic shift inside of me, especially in terms of like anxiety feeling in my body. And it makes sense because we store stuck emotions tend to be stuck in our gut, right? So like right in that diaphragm kind of gut area, it kind of gets stuck in there. So, years and years and years of hiding my emotions, it makes sense that those emotions were kind of stuck in there and they needed to be physically moved out of my body. So it was very, very liberating. And my intention was not to heal my acne with it. It kind of was a byproduct of getting rid of that stuck emotion.
Had you ever done any like meditative breathing before this conversation you had with your friend?
Yes, absolutely. I had done like basic breathing and meditation, a couple breaths here and there kind of thing, but not anything like more aggressively like Wim Hof, right? Like it's a much more aggressive practice than just a couple breaths here and there,
It's amazing how we can have effects on each other. We're almost without even. I mean, your friend, I'm sure, was trying to help you, but did he know that your life would change from what he said on that day?
I don't think he knew how impactful it was going to be for me, right? That one tip totally changed my life. And it's a practice that, I use with clients, but I also use with myself. And it's because it changed my life so profoundly. And now it's like, it's something that I want to do on a regular basis, because it's so powerful. So I don't think he realized in that moment, no, that it was going to be a life-changing tip to give me.
Well, this isn't a side, but as a coach, you're of course listening a lot and asking questions, but you're also saying encouraging words, and I assume sometimes giving ideas for your clients to consider. Do you always know which ones will have an impact?
Yeah, I mean, I use what changed my life. That's my approach, right? So there's a lot of things that I've learned in my life, especially, in school and kinesiology. And, I've spent a lot of time and money on personal development courses and leadership courses and business courses and all kinds of stuff, and gone to retreats, and gone on kind of a spiritual journey as well, which I wasn't expecting. And that took me for a spin. And so I only teach what changed my life. And so that's why I know it's effective with the people that I work with, because it's something that worked really well for me. So yeah, there's I integrate a lot of different types of practices, but they're like, I have a mindfulness communication technique that's like a partner practice I do with people, and integrate some breath work. But what's really life-changing, Jason, is visualization. So visualization has profoundly changed my life, and it's something that I do with clients because, again, it changed my life and it continues to do that. But it's pretty incredible how you can just visualize a whole new life for yourself, and it can rewire your mind, right? And change those patterns. So I was at an event actually on Saturday, and Natasha Graziono is a motivational speaker, and she did a visualization with us. And I was sitting there crying because it was so powerful. And ever since then, I've been feeling, the word I can describe of how I feel is inspired. I feel very, very inspired from that experience with her. So yeah, I just implement what changed my life.
What would you say to someone who's listening, who might be skeptical about visualization and be like, oh, just thinking of something new? what can it really do?
Well, if you haven't tried it before, you should probably at least give it a try, right? And try to experience it and keep an open mind. Because I think if you have a lot of resistance and you're kind of like, this sucks, I don't want to do this kind of attitude, you're probably not going to see much of a result in anything that you do. That mentality is not very
That's a good
healthy.
point.
It's not a very healthy mentality. So you need to have an open mind, going into it and say, okay, I'm open to explore. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe it work, maybe it won't. I don't know, but I'm open. So that's the first thing, is showing up with an open mind. And second is just going through the experience. I mean, visualization, when you have someone that's really powerful that does it, all that you're doing is sitting there and closing your eyes, and you're letting them guide you through an experience. And so the key is just to stay present and just go with the experience that they're taking you through. Because I think the biggest challenge is getting in our heads, and thinking about something else instead of being in the moment. So when you can really be in the moment with the visualization, it is extremely powerful what's possible. I mean, like my client had severe social anxiety, and we did a visualization, and she's not the same person anymore. She goes to events constantly. She tells me she's craving connection now instead of being scared of it. And that happened from a visualization.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's go back a little bit. So you saw your brother come out when you were in high school, right? What, did you have the thought in the back of your mind that, hey, I might want to do this at that time?
Good question. So I did not have that thought per se of like, it's my time to come out, because I was still in a state of fear. And even though I knew, I was still like, it was weird. It was like, I was still like confusing myself. It was more that I was trying to convince myself that I wasn't that way. And my brother was also bullied when he was in middle school and high school. It was very traumatic. And there was a situation where he was followed home from school, and they were putting like Post-it notes on his back, and he ran into the public restroom and Starbucks and was hiding. And it was a really dark time. And so my mom actually had to file like a police report, and like went to the school, and like it was a whole thing. So I think, I was a part of all, like I was seeing that, so it didn't really feel safe to come out as well.
You saw a fairly traumatic coming out process, like firsthand.
Yeah. And my parents are very accepting. So we were lucky to have that, right? My mom and my dad were extremely accepting of him, and also myself. So we're very lucky. I understand the privilege that we have in that. But in terms of the bullying, yes, it was traumatic for my brother. And again, just didn't really feel comfortable for myself to come out at that time.
So what finally? So then you went to college. What happened during college in terms of your debate about coming out versus not coming out?
So what happened in college was that I actually had a boyfriend for 3 years, and people would ask me all the time, like, if that was actually what I wanted, and because they could kind of sense something was a little bit off, it was basically like we were just friends in a relationship. And I was, everything just felt a bit forced in the relationship. And so I was actually going back home to Brentwood, and I saw somebody from high school that was at an event, and I realized a very strong attraction, right? It was like a feeling. We were talking about, how do you know? Well, it was a feeling, and it was a very strong feeling. And I was like,
It
okay.
was a very noticeable feeling.
Yes. It was a very clear, strong feeling. And I was like, okay. So that was that moment where I decided, okay, I need to come out. I need to just tell my family. I need to just be myself, and I need to not be in this relationship that I'm in, because it's not aligned for me. It's not actually what I desire and what I want. And that was really hard, breaking up with that relationship, and having to confess that. And then I told my mom when I came out, and she said, "What the heck took you so long?" So she knew since I was little. But she loved me, no matter what, she loved me. So again, I was very, very lucky to have that level of acceptance.
These are two more stories of ripple effects right here. Like, one is you go home to Brentwood and come upon this person and who's just doing their life, doing their thing, but you suddenly realize something for yourself that changes your life. Talk about them having a ripple effect that they had no idea they were having.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like when we have an experience and we didn't know what was coming, right? Like I was on a journey to get rid of the anxiety that I was experiencing, right? And I happened to, find a coach that I hired for 3 days and went to his experience in person. And it actually took me through a spiritual experience, which I was not expecting, right? So when you talk about that, it's like I was just on a journey to get rid of the anxiety. And then I went through a whole other journey. And at the end of the day, it did get me the result that I was wanting, right? Which was to feel at home with myself, to feel relaxed, to feel at peace, to feel stability, to not feel the anxiety so much in my life. So I think it's interesting when you go on a path of self-discovery, when you really commit to that journey, that there may be some unexpected twists and turns on the journey, right? Because you don't really know what you're getting yourself into, but you're committed to growth. That's how I've been since I was a kid, of like wanting to be the best version of myself, to reach my fullest potential. I've always been inspired by other coaches and people in the world, motivational speakers, that, they reach for their potential. That's always been something that's inspired me. So, I just see when you go on a path of self-discovery that, there's going to be some surprises along the journey and unexpected turns.
So what would you say to someone who's struggling, who has struggled for years with severe anxiety, and it keeps morphing into different things to be really anxious about? What would you say to them about the journey towards healing that anxiety?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, Jason. So I think the key is to figure out the root of where it's coming from. Right? Why is this happening? Why am I having this sense of anxiety that's coming up in my life? And typically I find that it's experiences that we've had in childhood that were, experiences that were unpleasant, that kind of created that sensation to activate. And it comes from our thoughts, right? And the thoughts that we have in terms of insecurities and fears and, worrying about the future, right? Like all of that generates that feeling of anxiousness. So, I would do an assessment, in terms of like asking them deep questions. How long has this been happening for you? And what have you tried to try and get it to resolve. Like, I would want to know, what have they tried? What is not working? Have you tried anything that has worked? And if nothing's worked, then there are modalities that I utilize, like I've said, already on the show, with mindfulness, communication technique, and visualization, stuff like that, that have transformed my life, that they can implement in their life as well. But I would start with getting very curious about their story and, the length that they've been dealing with it and what they've tried to get out of it, to get an understanding of what they need.
What has worked? What has worked is such a good question, because as we go towards a big solution to a challenging problem, sometimes we have things that work a little bit, or they work for a while, and it's a good question.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people lose sight of, like, oh yeah, that worked in the past, and then they forgot that it worked, and they just haven't been consistent with doing it, or somebody might be getting a small result but not the big breakthrough. So I think that's where I would want to get clear, is like, are they getting a little bit of relief, a lot of relief, or like full-blown relief? Like, where's the relief coming from, right? Is that actually happening? And if not, there are modalities that you can use to break free from that.
So there's ways to switch the habitual patterns around anxiety.
100%. Yeah.
So you work primarily, you now coach clients who identify as queer. What special concerns does this group of people commonly have, in addition to everything else humans are worried about in challenging contemporary society?
Yeah, I think that, in terms of concerns, right, I think that there's a narrative that when you come out, you're going to feel more free, you're going to feel more liberated. Like, just come out, and once you come out with your identity, you're going to feel better. But the reality of the situation for myself and for the people that I've worked with is that, I see that we've all come out, but we haven't come alive, right? We've come out, but we haven't come home to ourselves. So there's a journey after coming out of getting comfortable with who you are and discovering who you really are. Because what I see is the community, the LGBTQ plus community, there's a lot of trying to figure out your identity, your label, right? Trying to figure it out. There's a lot of energy that goes into your label. And so in that process, sometimes people lose sight of who they are beyond the label. They lose sight of who they are without a label. And it's in that exploration that I found who I truly am, deep down inside. And the label is just an aspect of me. It's a part of my life, but it's not all of who I am, And so I see that, again, when they come out, that a lot of people are dealing with a lot of anxiety after coming out, because once you come out, you're coming out for the rest of your life. So you're experiencing holding someone's hand in public or hugging them in public. And that's like a coming out, and traveling in different countries. There's challenges. You can't do that in certain countries. You've got to be mindful, right? So there's a coming out in that, so I typically work with people who have already come out but have not come alive. And I primarily work with people in the LGBT community, but I do have clients that are also not in that they don't identify there, but they're on a path of self-discovery, of growth, and they want to get rid of that anxiousness that's been driving them nuts their whole life.
So please tell us more about the in-between phase that you talk about. You talk about coming out, coming home, and coming alive. What was this coming home idea?
Mm. Yeah. So coming home, that happened to me when I was at my coach's 3-day experience.
Mm.
And the way I would describe it is that we were talking about thought. We were talking about how the mind works. And he took us through these partner exercises, this mindfulness communication technique. And in the process, I would say that I came home to myself. And what happened is it felt like I went into like a jacuzzi in my body, and all of those, all
Right.
of those, all of those, all of those like dark thoughts and ruminating thoughts and negative thoughts that I was experiencing just kind of melted. Like it was like ice cubes that melted inside of me. And I felt
Inside the jacuzzi.
exactly. The ice cubes melted in the jacuzzi, and like my mind was clear, and I
Mm.
realized who I am. And I'm like, wow, I
Mm.
am like deep down at my core, I am peace and I am love. And my pure essence is absolutely incredible. And it's a state of clarity. Like my truest essence is this peace of mind. So it was when I came home to myself that I realized I needed to teach this for the rest of my life because it was so transformational. And
Mm.
so, coming home is an experience like that of, it doesn't necessarily mean each person has to feel like they went into a jacuzzi, but it is an experience of feeling at home in yourself, where inside of your body you feel at peace, you feel stability, you feel secure. And once you access that space, the anxiety drops. And then you go on
Mm.
a journey of coming alive, which is coming alive is more about unleashing your fullest expression, being your confident self, right? Like, and then in that process, you also start to discover your life purpose. People discover, wow, like now that I don't have all this anxiety, everything's possible. It's like I believe in myself now, and I can go achieve my dreams, right? So in the coming alive stage, it's very prevalent that people discover their life purpose in the process.
What, why do you think it's harder for people to discover their life purpose when they're in the process of coming out?
Mm. I think that when people are in the process of coming out, right, they're still in a place of letting go of shame, letting go of guilt, letting go of insecurities. There's a lot of thoughts happening in the mind. And
And
so
letting go of a lot of hiding
100%
at that time.
stopping the hiding, right? And so all of that energy that they're putting into all of that, right? There's so much focus in that space that you can't if you're focused on all of that, how are you going to focus on your life purpose? It's like if you try to focus your mind on being happy and super angry at the same time, it's pretty hard to do. Right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
if you think about can you be really happy and also extremely angry at the exact same moment? Can you have those two sensations happen at the same time? It's a bit challenging. So it's like when you're coming out, your mind is filled with all of these thoughts, right? And so if your mind's filled with those thoughts, it might not have the space and the clarity to sit with what your purpose is.
Hmm. So in a way, it's a step by step process.
Yeah, I mean, this is the process that I went through. I call it my hero's journey, right?
Hmm.
Coming out, coming home, coming alive was my hero's journey. And I see it to be true, not just for folks in the LGBT community, but for folks, anyone can resonate with this coming out with whatever it is in your life, right? Letting go of the shame and not hiding something, is a coming out. And so coming out is like sharing your fears and your insecurities, coming out with all of that, like, so, what I see is that people need to have a breakthrough in their coming out process, and then a breakthrough in their coming home process, and a breakthrough in their coming alive, right? And it's an everyday occurrence. I'm still having to come out about stuff. I'm still having to remember to come home to myself, and I'm still coming alive on a daily basis. So it's a daily occurrence for me, and it's really empowering. It was really empowering for me to see that in my story, that I went through these 3 stages. It gave me a lot of clarity, and it also gave me a lot of clarity in terms of my methodology and what I'm doing with people.
What was one of your latest breakthroughs in terms of coming alive?
Such a good question. So I would say it was at a retreat I was at in Sedona in New Year's.
Wow.
And it was a breakthrough getting there, because there was multiple breakthroughs, but the week before I put on my vision board a picture of Sedona, and I didn't really think about it. I just put a photo there, and I've been there before, but something told me just to put that there. And then my friend John Block called me a couple of days later, invited me to go to this retreat. And I'm like, I don't know. It's like so last minute. So I booked my trip the day before the retreat, and I just said, I'm going, I'm going to make it happen, whatever. So I go, and we were in meditation and yoga and all these epic experiences for days. We were driving in nature and hiking, and I just had so much clarity. My mind was clearing. And the breakthrough that I had was that I wasn't living my life purpose. The breakthrough that I had was that I needed to go back to coaching and speaking and podcasting and do these things that really light my soul on fire, that are my actual purpose, that I'm really here to do on this planet, that I had been doing years before, for about 4 years. Before I went back into working for professional sports. But it was a breakthrough, and like, go live your dream, like go live your purpose, like go do that thing, like help other people light their fire, right? Like, because in reality, that's what when people say they come to me, they come because they feel inspired, right? They feel inspired to take action in their life and make changes in their life, right? It's that feeling. I mean, you're inspiring people all the time with your TEDx and your speeches and your book and everything. It's people come to you because they're inspired by us, right? And it's such a incredible feeling. It is so meaningful and fulfilling. And so I absolutely love helping people also discover their purpose and go follow that dream and go do that thing, because there's a lot of fear that comes up in that process, to take that leap and actually do it.
Because I mean, part of it is when we follow our dreams, that it doesn't mean that all challenges around our dreams suddenly vanish and it's all bliss. It still can be challenging, and we're going for our dream at the same time.
Exactly. And I think that's why people need support in their life. It doesn't have, whatever that looks like in your life, to have the support, whether that's a coach, whether that's a therapist, whether that's your family, your friends, your community, you find something that you have a support system around you, right? To help you stay on track with living your purpose, to be on that path, because it can be a very scary and lonely journey to try and do it all by yourself. And the reality is that there are going to be challenges, and how are you going to navigate them? How are you going to break through them?
And this ties again to your lifelong experiences with sports. The sports you've been talking about, it's all about being on a team and the team succeeding, not individuals.
Exactly. Absolutely. And that's why I like to be in community myself in terms of entrepreneurship. Like, I'm in a community right now, and it's, I'm surrounded by people that are also launching their businesses and working on their business and creating experiences for people, because, if you're an entrepreneur, you could very much get caught in that, being a solopreneur and not having a team surrounded by you to help you get through those challenging times. So I personally love the energy of teamwork instead of being a solopreneur. So it brings me a lot of joy, but also it gives me a lot of clarity when I get stuck.
I just flashed back to the vision of you in high school, hiding out in the classroom because you didn't want people seeing your acne. You've come an extremely long ways in terms of accepting and cherishing that you want to be part of teams and
Mhm.
having the confidence to step up and be part of a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think it's really like we said, I mean, having a team around us is really integral in our life, and having a support system. And you know, I just hid so much of my life, and it's been a big breakthrough to stop hiding. And again, what's possible for people when they stop hiding? What's possible for you? That's what I would ask the
Hmm.
audience right now. Like, what is possible for you when you stop hiding whatever it is that you've been hiding? What opens up in your life? You know, the possibilities are endless when you stop.
The possibilities are endless. Speaking of sports and not hiding, I just have to ask quickly, what was it like being part of a World Series game and being part of a Super Bowl?
Yeah, good question. It was amazing. I was a part of the 20, I'm trying to think of the year now. 2014, was it 2014 or 2012 Giants World Series, because they won in 2010, 2012, 2014. They won a lot. And it was epic because I was working for a social enterprise called Juma Ventures, and it was basically youth that were from low income communities that were selling the concessions in the stadium, right, and managing the concessions with me. And so it was a really rewarding job. And so it was the experience of being with these amazing youth that were working super hard, and a lot of them were saving for college, but also
Mm.
saving to support their families. And so it was the game, like the World Series, like win was an epic experience, but also being around the youth was what was so meaningful, right? To be giving back through sports. I mean, that's why I went down that path, was that I wanted to create social impact through sports. And so it was incredible being a part of that. I got to walk by the locker room several times while they're celebrating and going crazy, right? Um, and then at the time when the Super Bowl, when Peyton Manning won the Super Bowl with Broncos against the Panthers, I wasn't actually working for Juma at the time, but I went to the Super Bowl and I volunteered with the youth and the organization, and I was actually selling ice cream in the stadium. And it was just a really cool way to give back and be a part
Mm.
of a really cool experience. So yeah, both were awesome.
I love this idea of youth who've had really challenging lives, and suddenly being able to not only attend a World Series game, but to do some of the work of making it all come together, having a purpose at a World Series game. It's
Exactly.
amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, there was definitely purpose in that job. I was there every day making a difference. I knew that the work that we did was literally changing their lives. And
Mm.
I actually had a youth that went through the Juma Ventures experience in San Francisco with us, and then now they're at UCSD going to med school.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
we had a little breakfast together, and I got to catch
Mm.
up with them, and they shared with me that when they were
Mm.
at Juma, that they were literally paying bills like their parents' bills, because they didn't have the funds at the time. So
Mm.
whatever money they were making at work was going towards the house, and making things possible for their family. So, yeah, now they're in med school and they're thriving and they're doing really well. And it was just really cool to see that progression and that change, and that experience that, really changed his life.
Talk about a ripple effect, like Juma helped him, and then he gave back selling concessions, and now he's going to be a doctor and help who knows how many people.
Exactly.
Just keep going.
Exactly.
So if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they can connect with me on Instagram or Facebook at Cuyla Coogan. That's CUYLACOOGAN. Or I have a website, very simple. It's just Cuyla.com. They can connect with me there too.
So, just yeah, for Cuyla.com.
Yep, I just have Cuyla.com.
Oh my gosh, I have a name, Jason Freeman. You know how nice it would be. Like, there's no way in the world I could get Jason.com.
Right. Yeah,
So
I got
just Cuyla.com.
exactly.
Where does your name come from?
So it's a Gaelic name, and it's a kind of a sad story, but also I feel very empowered by it as well. My dad had a brother who passed away in his crib when he was a couple months old, and his name was Cuyler, Cuyler. And my dad decided that, when I was born, it was either going to be Cuyla or Cuyler. They were going to feminize the name if I was a girl. So yeah, I'm named after him. And, it's like I said, it's a sad story, but it's also, I feel empowered by it. Like I'm here to make a difference in this lifetime and really be grateful for the life that I have.
Wow, powerful. Could talk for a long time, but last question. So in my work, I talk about the power of doing our imperfect best, and what it means to me is I go for the best I want in my life, and I want to create for the people around me. But when imperfections and obstacles come up, instead of being stopped by them, I try to learn from that and once again move forward. What does doing your imperfect best mean to you, Cuyla Coogan?
I love this. Being my imperfect best or doing my imperfect best is showing up authentically as myself wherever I go. Right. So being my imperfect best is not trying to be a perfect version of myself. Right. So when I'm at a networking event or some kind of experience with people, it's just being in the moment with them and fully expressing myself and not holding back, right? Not hiding, right? So being my imperfect best is not hiding at all. It is being fully expressed. As you can feel, that's how I feel right now, right? It's like, it's okay if I mess up on something. Like, it's just about being in the moment and doing my absolute best that I possibly can and being as authentic as I possibly can. And a lot of that it's an experience of again, not hiding what you have to say, what you want to share, how you want to act, like just being you.
So inspiring. So inspiring. Thank you so much for your generosity and coming on the Awkwardly Awesome podcast, and thank you for sharing such profound things for us, and thanks for all you do in the world. You are definitely creating a ripple effect.
You touched my heart, Jason. I feel what you're saying and I love it and I appreciate it. And I am very grateful that we got to have this conversation together.
And please, I'm going to end the show, but please stay on. It takes a while for everything to link up, so please stay on, okay?
Okay.
And to everyone, thanks for for tuning in. Please leave comments. Please think about what Cuyla has said and reach out to her if you're inspired. And know we're all on this amazing journey through life together. We have different challenges, different experiences, but we can talk to each other and learn from each other and be inspired by each other. And most of all, thanks for being you. And now it's the end of the show with this.